welcome to Breathe India. We have a very special guest today on the show. We have Stephan Siegrist. Welcome to Breathe India. This is a show where we talk about M&M, Mind, Nutrition, Movement. I'm Rita Date, your host. I'm a yoga and meditation coach, nutritionist, and I've authored 2 books on eating healthy the Indian way. If you want to cut through all the wellness clutter and get practical advice backed by science, you've come to the right place. So we have a very special guest today on the show. We have Stephan Siegrist. He is an elite mountaineer who has done expeditions all over the world, the Alps, the Himalayas, Greenland, Antarctica, and he's written several books on his travels and adventures, as well as how to apply that to various business situations, risk management, and he's just come back from the Himalayas on a trip. So welcome, Stephan.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Where are you coming from?
Actually, from a kind of a wholly famous place in India, close to Gangotri. We were on the south side of Shivling and then on Bhagarati, so close to Uttarakhand.
So were you on an expedition or just a trip? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. I mean, expedition for us is like a good way to go out away from the civilization, to have our freedom for a certain time and just do what we like to do.
Yes.
And so usually every year we go between 5 and 6 weeks on expedition, like you said, in different places in the world. Mm-hmm. And I love India. It was the 15th time here now. And so there's lots to do here, a lot of interesting mountains to climb, and so I'm sure I will be back.
Okay. So. Yes, you have to be. So when did you start your mountaineering alpine journey? Mm-hmm. When you were young?
Yeah, I was 14 years old,
okay.
And actually family of us took me on a ski tour. Ski touring is like when you walk a hill up, you have skins underneath the skis.
Okay.
So that
you can walk up.
You can walk up.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and then you can ski down what you walked up. So I wasn't so. Yeah, I didn't like it so much. Then investment versus return were not so in proportion to what you walked up.
A lot of work going up, and then not too much time going down, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But then with 18, then I got into climbing and even more mountaineering, and then immediately felt I want to try to climb more difficult higher mountains, and then soon found out that this is my passion. And so then, the next few years I spent all my free time and money in that new hobby.
Mm-hmm. So you started with the Alps?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, which is, the Alps are a big part of the Alps are in Switzerland, and it's quite easy to approach there. And also like Chamonix in France, we are quite fast there. So that's how the playground when I was young.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's right in your backyard.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how's the difference? Like, how do you find the Himalayas compared to the Alps? Like, I mean, I know each one has its own pluses, minuses.
Yeah.
But how do you find the difference? Like, what brings you to the Himalayas?
Yeah, you can compare it like look at Switzerland and India. So from the size, the Alps are kind of
much smaller.
Small. It's quite easy to access, and you're very close to the civilization. So here it's another game. Then suddenly you're far away from the civilization. If something happened, you don't have the rescue possibilities like we have in Europe. Everything is, it's definitely more an adventure here than by us, and that's what I like, and that's also why I usually choose parts, except now Gangotri is quite touristic, but other parts in Kashmir where I went 11 times, which are very, very remote, and then it's the whole culture who comes with. It's super interesting to see the different religions, and very nice, yeah.
So how do you prepare for your trip, like physically? I mean, physically and mentally. What do you do before your expedition? I mean, obviously you're training through the year, but as things get closer to that time, do you do anything different? What do you do?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the physical part, most of the people can follow. That's like endurance, and it's power. So climbing has a lot to do with upper body power, but also with the leg power that you can train, that everyone can follow. But the mental part is another thing, and I think that's something often gets forgotten. It's like 50% of actually
Oh, yes.
everything that you are mentally prepared. And I think everybody has, you can have mental coaches and so on, but I think over the years you also learn yourself known, and you know how you can prepare yourself mentally for a big challenge. And for example, if I have a picture of the mountain, I try to visualize it and try to already see the camps where we have to stay on the mountain.
Okay.
And then day 1, then 2, 3, and also then try to see what could be the difficulties in that part there. And then I usually draw like 3 or 4 person. Usually we are 3 person on the summit to see visually, okay, we're gonna be there on the summit. And what I also learned is that you have your different camps. I usually set a bit lower down, then you will on the climb you will remember where you had visually your camps on this picture, and then if you make it further than the camp, it feels very good.
Yes.
But if you would have to stop before, the motivation is a bit less good. So, but there's some tricks.
So a lot of, these are interesting. So a lot of visualization and drawing out and just getting mentally prepared.
Yeah, from home, and then on the trip itself, you have to get one with the mountain. You have to try to understand the mountain, and that's when you look at the mountain for many hours, many days, different lights. You see different options where you could climb through, and like that you step by step get closer with the mountain, and also the chance of a success is bigger.
Okay. Yeah, so when it was our 25th anniversary, we thought, what should we do? And we said, okay, we're getting older, we should move more. And our friend, and your friend as well, has always been talking about trekking. So we said, okay, let's start trekking. We started at age, in our late 40s or early 50s, and decided to go. And so we did, like a 5-6 day trek in the Himalayas with our friends. He organized a nice trip, and it was a good challenge for us. So, and luckily we had the right people, the right group that showed us how to do it properly. But there have been a lot of incidences where people start this late in life, and they start because, you don't have time earlier. You're bringing up the kids, or you're busy with your profession. So then you have a little more time to spend 10 days in 10 days away.
Yeah.
But there have been a lot of incidences where people have had health problems. So what advice do you have for someone who's starting out late in life? Obviously we're not going to be doing expeditions, but but just like even a trek to Kashmir or something where you're in a remote place, and it is challenging. Yeah, what do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, can I ask you where you were in Kashmir at that time on the trek?
No, we went to some lower valley. We did go to
Lower
Kashmir
valley.
the next year. So since then, we've gone every
Nice.
year. We got kind of hooked.
Okay.
And except for the
Great.
COVID year, we
Yeah.
were going every year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I ask why in Kashmir it's already way more difficult if somebody get a health issue. You know, if you as close you are to the civilization, sure, it's easier to get somebody out. And depends what they have. You know, over the years, sure, you learn a lot of different incidents or about incidents, and high altitude sickness is one of that one who I would say also in trekking is the most common here in the Himalayas. And so to not even get there, it's like the acclimatization is super important. You have to walk every day. If we want to reach, let's say in 5,000 meters every day, slowly but continually. And then if you feel sick, if you have to throw up, that's a first sign, then headache, and that you should take seriously and then wait a day on the same altitude or even go lower down. Then if you don't do it, then it can be easily happen that you then have a high pulmonary altitude sickness, and that's deadly very fast. And the same like if you have it, the brain pulmonary.
Yes. So basically, don't have an ego. Just listen to the guide.
Yeah, a little bit of ego is good, but it's super important that you also learn knowing your body, you know, what the body what it tells you, and then also if you come to a point where you don't feel good, say it. Listen, I think I have to stay or go a day back or whatever. Otherwise, it gets suddenly difficult to bring somebody down.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah,
and flying out is complicated.
Yeah, it's not that easy.
It's not that easy.
We had a friend. He brought a bunch of cash with him in case he needed a helicopter, but it's just not easy to get a helicopter. You just can't get the helicopter. You know, so
the cash is one thing, but then you need the pilots who know how to fly.
Right, and you need the right weather.
And
right?
then the weather is
the main thing.
Yeah. So that's a bit, that's a bit a tricky point that you should forget air rescue here in India, the Himalayas. Then you're better. Then you take care about other stuff.
Yeah, because trekking has become a very popular sport now. As you know, all the mountains are crowded, very crowded. It's a thing to go to EBC, Everest Base Camp, or I mean, everyone is. It's gotten to be. I don't know if it's a fad, but it is becoming more popular. So
I think it's really interesting. The first time I visited India, the mountains was 20 years ago, and since then I see constantly how it evolves with trekking. People are more interested to go outer sport, and think it's super important and also good for the health. And also respect the nature. You see, if you have to live with the nature, you respect it more. And and that's the same what happened like by us 15 years ago. Suddenly there was this outdoor boom, and that you see now here. So it's
it makes you train. It keeps you fit. I mean, so if we have to go in July, by May we have to like get cracking and start training a little more and more.
Yeah. So, but then when you have a goal, then you train.
Yeah, you have a goal, then you train.
Yeah.
Right. What do you do for fear when you're scared or when you're in the mountains? Do you have any techniques you use? Breathing?
Yeah, fear is always a bit... sure, we also have fear, but I would more say it like a lot of respect. You know, then when fear overtakes it, then you lose your mind. And that is super important that you stay focused what you're doing. Try to get over mentally the fear and do the next step.
Okay.
Don't start to freak out. As soon as you start freaking out, then it's done.
You have to stay calm.
Calm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very important.
So you stay calm by, like you said, the visualization, what you prepared for that.
Yeah.
So
you have to, and breathing, like you said, is very important. Like to start deeply breathing, what you do in yoga here, it's something very helpful if you know at that moment, okay, I have to calm down, I have to focus on the next step, forget all the devils in the back, and then keep going forward.
Can you tell us about the most difficult situation you've had in many years of mountaineering? One incident that you overcame?
You mean a close crash?
Close. It could be a close call or anything you want. Yeah, anything that was difficult situation.
Yeah, I would say I had in my career, now I live since 30 years as an athlete of that sport, and I had different difficult situations, either with sponsors or with summits where I had to turn around just before the summit. And I mean, there are always setbacks. And I think it's very important, especially when you're young, that you learn that a setback or not reaching a summit is part of the game. And then you have to start also accept it. And I think that makes you stronger then, that you, it's nature who tells you what you can do and not we telling the nature. And I think in the early years you think you
invincible.
You can't die invisible, exactly. And then you have to learn, okay, there's a limit. And the closest call I had by us once in Switzerland is the famous Eiger Nord face, which is actually worldwide famous. It's a big face, a lot of kind of climbing difficulties. And there we were opening a new route, and a friend of mine, there was a miscommunication. He thought I'm on belay, it means I'm attached somewhere, but I wasn't. I was on my ice tools. And then he started climbing on the climbing rope up. So chumaring, we call it. It's a bit difficult to explain, but basically he was hanging with his whole weight for 40 meters, whole weight plus the backpack on my body, and I had to hold it. And I knew in that moment, if I let go now, then we are both history. And that is also something what kept me awake for many days afterwards. Like that fear at that moment, and knowing that it was super close.
Right. Oh yeah, that can happen. I'm getting that fear thinking about that. Do you do weight training, or what other exercises do you do?
Yeah, usually what we try to do is the specific muscles. So I mean, climbing, bouldering is climbing.
Yes. Okay. Yes. You really use these kind of
Exactly. Yeah. And then at the same time, sure, we do specific like biceps or body strength. And I go to the gym sometimes, but more for the disbalance, so that I kind of forcing the other muscles as well.
Okay.
Build the other muscles as well up. Otherwise, we climber always.
Yeah.
Have to.
Oh, are you also hunched like this? Oh, because of the back. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Everything you do is here.
Oh, right.
And then it's like in front. And then also, like you say, the backpack you carry like that.
Yeah.
And so you have to make sure that you open up again, and also do you must know all the different movements that for the rotation for the shoulder and stuff.
Yeah. Do you do yoga?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Not very good, but
that doesn't matter. No, as long as you do it. Fantastic. So you're here to give a talk on risk management. Am I correct?
Yeah, it has not just risk management. There's going to be different topics involved.
Yes. Can you elaborate on that? So you are also a management consultant, or you give talks. You relate mountaineering to business situations or in the corporate world, so to speak.
Yes.
So can you elaborate on that a little bit? What lessons can not just corporate world, even a layman get from what you're teaching?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I not try to teach people. I just want to show them, and like to show them, which is quite easy what we're doing in the mountains. You always have certain subjects who are very similar to the business corporate world or to our private world at home. So it's I try to take people on a trip, on an expedition, on a journey. And on that journey, you see like a lot of different topics comes up, like different similarity, like let's say you have to be flexible, suddenly you have to make a new plan.
Okay, yeah, when you're in the mountains, you kind of, you have to
and on the way to
do
the
what's
mountain, the
necessary.
summit, you have so many like similarity to that world that people hopefully, usually they see it, they realize it, and then usually it's a discussion afterwards, which is, I think, the most important. That then people are interested, how is it exactly new world, and what's, by us it's like that. But what I don't do is to tell except I would know the business very well, then you can say, okay, it's like you have it in your business, it's the same like by us. Then
Right. You cannot compare the businesses, but you can give your lessons.
You can compare some steps on the way up. It's the same like in business. Also, I mean, team spirit is super important. Also in business world, super important to have challenges, to have like also.
Even in everyone's life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can apply it to your own life.
Yeah,
the challenges
exactly. And how you deal with failures, what you do with setbacks, how you get each other motivated again. There's so many aspects which.
And you have to do this for 5 weeks in the mountains and before, of course. But when you're in the mountains, this is constant. It's a constant, right?
It's constant, but it's also, which is the big difference is it's like a digital detox up there. You're off of everything, and that gives you a lot of freedom and a lot of space also to think, to deal with other, let's say, problems or.
You can think about other things.
And you have to. Only like that, your mind is free and open for the client, in my opinion.
That's one of the things I used to like. Just like digital detox, and just not having to look at the phone, not to deal with. Connection. It was so good for everybody. Everyone's in the same space, so we're actually talking to each other.
But it's really in these days, I think something so important. It's hard to believe for the young generation that they can even get rid of for 2 weeks or 5 weeks from connection. But it's so much relaxing. It's something I always looking for.
Yeah.
And who can say these days I am 5 weeks off the network? Ciao, that's a privilege.
Yes, we keep telling Ranjit. Ranjit is our friend. That same thing. He's off to the mountains. We won't hear from him for 4 or 5 weeks. So one of the things that I have, like I said, that's one of the favorite things I liked, and it is just being in that nature. Of course, everyone goes to the Himalayas for different reasons, spiritual or, and once you do go there, something spiritual does happen to you. Something happens to you, right? Right. So in this podcast, we talk about M&M, mind nutrition movement. So this is a very important aspect. This is the mind, and that's why I wanted to bring you on and talk about what strength, resilience you need for the things you do, and then and it filters on to everyday life.
First of all, let's say I'm lucky that I could turn my hobby into a profession, and so it's a passion. And if you have a passion, you should follow the passion, in my opinion. Then that's where your strength comes out on the end, where you're strong and where you can reach something. For mountaineering, basically, you have to start low. You have to low like endurance, but also you don't have experience, so you have to get experience over
Over time.
Over time. Every trip gives you more experience about the mountain, about the nature, how to also do the risk management up there. Then you have to be physically fit. That's kind of, let's say, easy to do. You can go running, cycling, whatever, endurance, do some upper body work. And then you have to be mentally fit as well. So you shouldn't be bothered by too much other things, that your mind is free and focused what you're doing at the moment. Otherwise it can be fast deadly.
Yeah. So I was just you answered the question already. What message do you want to give to young people starting out? Do you find a lot of people are going into mountaineering, in Switzerland, in Europe? There's still a good demand. People are doing it. Yeah? Oh, that's good. That's good.
No, many people, and after COVID even more.
Oh, okay. It's a good way to get into nature. I mean, I think people really appreciated outdoors.
Yeah, exactly. And they were forced to go out again, to do something out. We were lucky enough in Switzerland, we didn't have
you have
hard regulations, so we could go out back in the house, and people needed to go out, otherwise they would kill each other in the house.
Yeah, I know in the US the national parks were overloaded.
Were they?
During COVID and 1 or 2 years
afterwards,
they were packed because that's what people had to go. I mean, people needed to go. People didn't go to crowded like Disney World or other places that usually they go. They would rather be out in the nature. So they got more popular. Yeah.
No, but for if somebody begins with, let's say, already hiking, just get well equipped, be aware of the nature situation, of weather, check the weather, ask other persons or find out who would know about the pass, about the conditions. Sometimes the trail is super easy, sometimes there's a lot of snow, so it's going to change quickly. And then go forward step by step. Don't push it too hard. You should scratch a little bit on the limit, then otherwise you don't get further, but don't scratch as much that they start bleeding, then it's too far. So it's always a good balance.
Go to the edge and then right?
Yeah. And there's something you cannot learn indoor climbing or whatever. You have to, like expeditions or big treks, you have to learn the situations in place. Each time you learn a bit more. So in climbing gyms, you can train your athletic skills, but if you want to go out, then you have to get experience in the nature.
Great. So what's your next year? What is your next expedition?
Good question. Possibly, we have a winter project in Switzerland again, and Eiger North Face, where we started a new route. We would like to finish that.
Okay.
And then for next year, I have a request to go with a good friend to Pakistan, or then I come back to India. So it's like these two options. But I first have to go back now and then sort everything out.
Recover. Do your other business.
Yeah, exactly. And then start planning again.
Okay. Well, that wraps it up. And I want to say thank you. If the
much.
audience wants to find you, where can they find you? You have stephansiegrist.com, right?
Yes, and then there's the Instagram. Stephan Siegrist, they find,
I'll put it in the show notes for people to find you. And we hope to see you again in India. Come back to India.
Thank you. First you see you in Switzerland.
Yes, I will. I'll come. Good. I like the smaller Alps.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.